Oh, that's and she did like. Oh, just get her calling you. Oh.
If you had a name, I think have to do something.
Yeah.
We're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I usually sound truck when I was in the studio. I was in the back, he said, oh, well. Okay. Can't get any further back.
Human.
We have there. Now. I guess I never had nothing in my class with you. You Collins didn't do that. Even the high school, that's where you wanted to. I remember what that he was a year old because the juniors and seniors like to buy. He was in my brother's class. And anyway, yeah, you says I means I his biology. And I like to remember. Yeah. Well, that's not this. Uptown. They probably something like this. And I love it. So oh yeah. They're homemade. But like this. They awesome. They're always. You can't. Oh, take you 3 days. We all brought them. So what's they use the oil, it's all grass. So we're trying to get. Oh, okay. We're still
I know, and exciting. Super exciting.
This is probably the biggest budget meeting I think I've ever seen.
Biggest budget we've ever seen.
Is it?
Touche.
Yeah. Actually, I think it's not the biggest. We got evidence that it's been bigger, I think, don't we?
Yes, we do. Not on me, no, I need to go get my
I
computer.
think it's fine. We're fine.
At one point, POA was $1,853 a year. And that was like 5-6 years ago.
What was the total budget bigger than all?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I did.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it was.
Well, I know what it's at.
I have a list of like all the assessments back. Maybe 10 years. So when everybody, so when people come in and like, it's never been this high, actually it has.
Okay, guys, it's 3 o'clock. I'm a kind of a start on time kind of cat. And since I've got this one and then another one tonight, I'm going to try to stay on top of it. And first of all, I do want to say, and by the way, we've got people online. We're Zooming this. I'm going to record it. Hopefully, if all works out well and this one goes well and you guys ask all great questions that everybody wants to know that we can answer, then we'll hopefully I can condense this down and post it for people who maybe for some reason can't get to any of the 12 or 15 of these I'm willing to do. So we do have people online here as well. Welcome everybody. So I'm going to be talking to everybody here. So I may or may not, if you have a question, I'll try to pay attention to the chat, but don't bank on me seeing it. So we'll see how we do.
Isn't there another meeting tomorrow night?
There's a whole bunch of them. So there's one tonight at 7 on strictly on Zoom. And then there's 2 more next week and 1 the next week after that. And if we keep getting turnouts like this, I'll keep doing them. So that doesn't mean you guys probably need to come again, but tell some other people, which is great. So Okay, so I'm really excited all you guys are here. This is it's really important. We got a lot of big stuff going on that we're trying to get done, and it's important. It's really important. So as homeowners, I'm thrilled to see people who are engaged with this and paying attention to what's going on and have questions. Because we've thought through this been thinking through this for a while, trying what's the best way to go about doing this so nobody's confused and everybody gets it figured out. And that's impossible with, a couple of thousand people. So we've been trying to figure out the best way to do it and the information to get out there, and it never will go perfect, but so being able to answer some questions like this is a really helpful thing. So ideally today, what we'll do is I want to kind of go through some kind of notes for some thoughts, implications for the budgets, all three of them. We'll talk about all three of them, answer any and every question you got about budgets. And then I want to get into the covenant and bylaw revisions and what questions you guys might have about those. And we've got some folks here. Forrest was hugely instrumental in helping to get that done. We got it done without him. So he'll be here to help out with that as well. Tammy's along to help out with some budget. We got some finance committee, Ken back in the back. So all kinds of people that can jump in here to help out as needed. And then honestly, any questions about CondoVoter and how the online process we are to voting and any information you need about that. And then honestly, depending on how much time we have, I'll answer any question about anything. So happy to. Okay, so let's jump in and kind of talk about budgets. And I just wrote some notes and thoughts here, and I'll just kind of run down through these, and then we can talk about specifics about anything you want to talk about. First thing I will tell you, if you guys have not looked at the entire budget, you can do it in a couple of places. It is on the owners' portals. And if you're thinking to yourself, I don't have any idea what the owner's portal is. That's the thing that only you guys can access. You should have got that information when you first got here, plus the passwords. If you don't know where that is or what your passwords are, holler at us at the office. We will help you find it. Sorry we didn't have enough chairs out, but thankfully we need some more. That's good. But
It's on the website.
it's on the website, PointRoyaleGolfVillage.com. All right, and then there's like a 6-digit pass code or whatever, and we'll give you that information if you don't have it. But you can look at the full COA budget, the full POA budget, the full golf budget. You will be, if you're a condo owner, you'll vote on the condo budget, you'll vote on the POA budget. If you're a POA owner, you'll vote just on the POA budget. You're saying to yourself, what about the golf budget? Well, we've never voted on the golf budget. That's never been a part of our current covenants, and we'll get into that later. There's no provision for that. In fact, that's what I don't want to spoiler alert, but there's no provision for you guys to vote on any budget in our current covenants, the way they're written. That's not how we operate. That's not how we operate, but that's one of the things we needed to fix about our covenants, why we need to rewrite them. So, but we'll get into that in just a little bit. But you guys can have full access to those budgets. Plus, when you get your CondoVoter email and you click vote and it pulls up the ballot, you can look at not just the bios for all the candidates, but you can look at the full budgets. You can look at the full covenants. You can look at the full bylaws. All that stuff is available for you to look through before you vote. Yes. Just going to leave it just with the yes side, because hopefully that's what everybody's going to do, especially after we talk today. Okay, so some basic budget stuff, just some notes that I wrote down, and then we'll get into some other things. So let's just get the bad stuff out of the way right off the bat. So assessments, golf is going to go up $55 to $850. We've been dropping it. And we've been able to do that because our reserves have been hovering around 100%, a little bit over. But now, so we've been dropping it at the same time that inflation's been skyrocketing. You guys are feeling it everywhere, right? And so and it just you can't keep going that direction before you got to think, okay, wait a minute, our reserves are now dropped 15 to 20%. Now we got to start making sure we're taking care of that so we don't keep going the wrong direction. POA will go up $150 to $1,650. Of course, this is pending approval by the owners, even though we don't have to, according to our current covenants, but it's pending approval to $1,650. COA will go up a 10-cent increase to $2.08 a square foot, which is a 5% total increase. And just per assessed square foot. All right, and that's and just know that the finance committee and the boards and Tammy and I, particularly Tammy and I, we're thinking, honestly, we think about the condo owner a lot when we talk about the budgets because they pay all three. So it's something that we do take into consideration. All right, so why why are these going up? Why are the budgets or the assessments needing to increase? And so I wrote some basic reasons down. First of all, the cost of everything has gone up. You guys are feeling this just as much as we are. Everything's gone up. You go to the grocery store, you go out to a restaurant, you go Walmart, whatever else, everything has gone up. At the same time, we've been trying to keep everything flat because everybody's getting hit with that. We've not wanted to keep increasing here as well if we can help it. Problem is we're paying for all those things, utilities, all that kind of stuff here. And if you keep with prices going up everywhere and we're not raising the assessment, now all of a sudden our reserves start dropping, which is a bad thing. And we don't want that to be the case. So bottom line is everything's gone up. And the last thing you want to do is for one more thing to go up. But based on the fact that the association is buying stuff just like you guys are buying stuff, and everything costs more money. And while minimum wage did not go up this year, it continues to climb. And folks, it's headed towards $14 an hour. And right now, of course, we can't even hire somebody for $14 an hour because there's just too much competition out there for not enough workers, especially not enough good workers. So we did I think a 3% increase across the board. That doesn't mean everybody will get a 3% raise. It's merit-based, based on evaluations for the supervisors. But that's the way we say, which honestly it's not even a cost of living increase. But that's what we set it for this year, based on what the boards wanted us to do. Our community is getting older, and that comes with the need for more maintenance, particularly on the condo side, but also with all of our amenities. As things age, you got to put money into them, otherwise they end up looking terrible, and now your property values are going down everywhere. So it's the reality of it. Insurance is going up. So this is not, we're actually fairly thankful that the POA in golf did not go up as much as we expected it to. I think it was about a $2,000 total increase for that, which honestly was fairly miraculous. Pretty thrilled that that's all it was. While condo went up about $180,000, and could have gone up $400,000. So that's not a Point Royale issue. That is a nationwide issue right now. Thankfully, we're not in Florida because it would have gone up $400,000 where we got it. It's if you could have got it at all. In fact, a broker that we work through, there's a lot of the associations they work with, they could not get them insurance. We had auto owners this year picked us up for 2023. They wrote a bunch of condo associations. They dropped all of them. And like I said, this is a nationwide issue. When I went down to the property managers conference down in Dallas, a couple thousand property managers all across the country, this was half the conference was talking about the hard market for insurance companies. Particularly with related to condo associations. So, and it's not, they say it's not going away anytime soon. I don't know what that means, but I know it's not good. But it's the world we're living in at this point in time. And that's a combination of several things, not just claims across the country, but when the Surfside incident, condo building coming down, plus replacement costs for everything going through the roof. It's a combination of all those things, and insurance companies are not wanting to run that risk. And if they're willing to take it, you're going to pay for it. So, and utilities have gone up substantially, as I'm sure you guys have felt on your own homes. I know we have in our place, but utilities right now are just killing us. Whether it's water, where the city has figured out they can get us on water coming in and going. So they charge us for water we're putting in, and they're charging us for water going out. So anytime we have to drain a pool, all right, not only are we getting charged for the water we have to put back in, but we're getting charged for all the water going out, even if we're not running it through the sewer system. So they did that a couple of years ago. So it's so things are just it's expensive. Electricity is expensive, water is expensive, propane's expensive, yada yada yada. But we're dealing with that. And as we attempt to keep the assessments down the last few years, while inflation's been skyrocketing, it hasn't really allowed us to put any significant money into our reserves. And consequently, our reserve percentages are still hovering below 50% for both POA and COA. Golf's doing better, but in the last couple of years, as we've been dropping the assessment, we've dropped about 11 to 20% on the golf reserves as well. It's still healthy, it's still doing good, but we don't want to keep going that direction. Right now, it's at 80 something. It's in the 80s at this point in time.
Oh, you should, it's
Something like
good,
that,
good
something like
info, I think.
that. So it's still healthy. POA and COA are both below 50. 40, they're in the 40 some percent. So I don't remember the exact numbers. And it's a little bit nebulous right now because we're getting ready to move to the 2024. And based on work we've done, those numbers all shift a little bit. We've got it in the plugged in through the budget so we can look that stuff up. But it's for all of them, we're looking at climbing the reserves a little bit, but we're talking about 1 to 2% if we put some money away based on the assessment that we've got set up. So, okay, so what are we doing to curb expenses? That's a great question. I'll ask it first. All right. So first thing we did is we eliminated a few capital projects. Now, this is, you have to be real careful with this. We don't want to get in a situation where we start cutting out capital projects that we need to do based on what our research study says, because when you put those things off, when you finally get around to doing them, sometimes you get around too late, and always the price is going to go up. Just for example, we actually were talking about cart paths on the golf course because concrete keeps going up 9 to 11, 12% every year. Thinking, man, it would be very smart if we could actually just do all of them now at the current price of concrete as opposed to next year. But it's going to cost over $1 million to finish up the whole golf course. So we're not going to obviously do that. But can we buy a little more concrete this year with maybe some income that we don't want to pay taxes on, all right, and knock some of that out at the current rate of concrete as opposed to waiting, and when it goes up again, now the $90,000 we put towards concrete cart paths every year, you get less cart path, right? So you got to be real smart about that. You can't kick the can so far down the road that now your amenities are in worse shape, your buildings are in worse shape. Now it costs more money to fix them because prices are obviously aren't going down, they're going up. So you have to be real careful about that. But are there some things we can do to help mitigate some expense, even if it maybe costs us a little more work on our side? So for example, we've been painting the stucco buildings and, refinishing some of those they're getting beat up by golf balls, and the rest of them. You just have to periodically, and I say periodically, once in about 30 years now, if you don't repaint those, they start looking terrible and start breaking down. So we're moving down that process. And we hired that out, because we got a company who does a great job with it. We don't necessarily have the manpower to be taking all of them off and going and painting a huge building like that. But instead of moving down to the next building on the list and spending $50,000, $60,000, we pulled that off the capital projects. We're going to do it. Might take us a whole year to get a building done. But we've got guys we know who can do it. It's going to take more time, but it's going to spend less, it's going to cost less money. So those are the types of things we are attempting to do and navigate through in order to mitigate some of these high, increases in everything. So that's one of the things we're doing. We are searching for ways to reduce utility expenses. So if you're in around any of these rooms and nobody's in it, you leave it, shut the light off. If not, I'll probably come behind you and do it. Yes, Candy. Okay.
Let's turn the thermostat up down the grill.
Yeah, and I've been doing that too. I need to double check and make sure that I do it behind me, but yes, I have already done that. Actually, I talked to him about that as well. So, but we'll stay on top of that. And I've been doing it here. It really gets really bad in the Grand Regal in here. Of course, that's a big old room. And part of the issue is in this building is that these doors are so old, they don't shut right. And so we're constantly heating and cooling the outside. So that's in the list of things to do. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So, yes, sir.
Did I hear you say you're doing no capital projects?
No. We are doing capital projects.
Okay.
We just,
I looked at the budget and the portfolio, what was there, and I didn't see any capital projects listed.
Yeah, we, they are with our capital project total. All right, but we do,
Not individual.
but no. You didn't have a microphone, so you're good. Okay, gotcha. So we, yes, we can go through, we can pull those up and go through those if you want to do that. So we need, yeah, we'll definitely can do that. So the other thing is, we're continuing to shop out all of our contracts. So we switched PEO companies, this year because it's going to save us about $25,000 roughly. PEO companies, so our payroll, they're doing payroll or work comp, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of a pain to switch. But it's, especially for Tammy, she said to have been in a lot of meetings and a lot of work to get it done. But if we can save $25,000 and hopefully we're end up getting a better service behind it, then great. We did the same thing when we switched a couple of years ago from ADP to Oasis, and we did that and saved a bunch of money. And that's when we added on to our to pay benefits for our employees, which given the job market at the time we desperately needed to do. But we were able to do that by switching companies and use that decrease an amount of money we were paying them to shift it over to take care of the benefits without having to ask the homeowners, hey, give us more money. So we're going to continue to try to do that anytime we can. A great example of that this year is Republic Services. As you guys all know, they haven't been the greatest this year. That's an understatement. We were really unhappy with them. They missed us several times and didn't get the greatest service. They were dealing with driver issues. I don't care. They weren't picking up our trash. It was a problem. And so we were actually getting them to take some money off of the bill, but I used it as leverage and said, look, we're shopping this out. And fortunately, that's about the same time we have two other companies that came into Branson. And so we bid it out to all three companies that were available. Republic came in the cheapest. Actually, they came in quite a bit cheaper than the other two companies and cheaper for next year than what we were paying this year. All right. So we used our frustration with them to drive that bill down. So for a couple of years, at least, we're going to be paying less money than we paid this year for trash with bigger dumpsters in several areas. So that's with the increased size. So they brought it down pretty good for us. So in 3 years, we'll might have to do it again, but anyway, so that's just an example of the things we're trying to do to mitigate some of this inflation and all the stuff that we're dealing with. So, and I want to say this right off the bat, and I mentioned this in my Clubster post. We work for you guys. And I could be more sincere when I say we work for you guys. I think since I've been here, I've always had this constant thought that there's a chunk of the population here that thinks there's this association, this big association that's lording over the property and, got their thumb on it and trying to manipulate everybody how they want it. And I'm thinking, oh, you guys are the association. There isn't a separate company. All right. But I think it's important for us to remember that. So our job is to make sure that we use the money as wisely, your money as wisely as possible. We don't spend any of it we shouldn't be spending without your guys' authority. And that we take care of your investment here. That's why we're here. And that's a huge goal for us. And we try to take it very seriously, but not just for today, right? For the duration, all right, for forevermore. All right, so having heard all that information so far, what questions do you guys have budget related? Do you guys want to pull up capital projects and look at them real quick? Okay. Sure.
Okay, so this was asked. I went and got the number. COA reserve for 2023 is 47.98% right now. The 2024 budget, if all goes as the budget says, we are putting away, well, actually, January 1, we are putting away $72,761.65. So with the reserve number changes every year, depending on assets. The 2024 reserve funding percentage should go up to 49.05 barring any other entries. Now, so you know, at the end of the year, any money that's not spent goes into reserves. That's not factored in because I don't know what that number is. Golf for 2023 is 89.88%. We are actually taking money out of the budget, out of reserves for capital projects. So it will drop to 78.47%. POA is currently at 47.46%. We have budgeted to put away $61,632.67. It will go up to 53.27. Now, the one thing you all need to know is those percentages may not mean much at this moment, but if you ever do a refinance, try to sell, those numbers come into play because the banks want to know if you're buying into a financially stable neighborhood, because we are a homeowners association. Okay.
Yeah, and I will say right off the bat, an understanding of reserves. So some people look at reserves as a rainy day fund. All right. It is a fund used right now. All right. And every year for a repair replacement of wasting assets. All right. So it's not we're saving money for down the road for things that might eventually break. We're paying for stuff every year that needs to be updated.
Pointed it right to me.
Yes.
Where is funding for restriping, cutting dead tree limbs and live tree limbs that are hitting the roof of our building?
Yeah, that's in our regular budget. It's just a matter of getting to it. Yeah, that's
So it'll be covered.
that's not a capital project. That's stuff that we have to do every year. So we just got to get it's just a maintenance part of the maintenance budget.
All right, and when is that meeting?
Meeting? Yeah, there's not a meeting for that. So we just do it. So yeah.
Well, I know some isn't being done.
Well, there's a lot that needs to be done. And here's what you have to remember. We've talked about that. Fawn's aware that it's got to get done. In fact, I was out looking at some buildings the other day where we got to get some stuff off of there. It's a matter of time and bodies to do it. So because we contract that out, now you're talking about a lot more money.
Well,
So we do what we can do. We do it as soon as we can get it done. And we just have to schedule it in. So
our bushes and crepe myrtle trees haven't been cut back in 3 years. They were cut back the very first year we lived here. And the bench Fond was going to do in the winter between building 39 and 40, because one board has no stain on it, no varnish, and needs to be redone, and that's still not done either.
Any of those types of things, come and see me about, because I don't want to take away from the budget for next year meeting. Talk about any of that stuff. Come see me about it. And we'll make a list and we'll get it done. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you may not have the information in front of you. How is that reserve number for the condo based on other years? Is that lower, higher?
I can answer that somewhat, Jim, and that up to about 3 years before we had the on-site reserve study done, it looked like it was up in the 60s.
Okay.
But that was a wrong number. It was an incorrect number. So for a number of years, because I don't know, Ken, you may know, there was like 12, 13, I don't know how many years since we'd had an on-site study. So none of the decks were included in that, those reserve numbers were, because I've talked to several people, so we used to be in the 60s and 70s. What happened? Well, we weren't.
So
We just thought we were.
There's really no way to compare these.
You can't compare.
Okay,
You
that
can't compare.
was my question.
Yeah, you just can't compare them because it wasn't correct. Yeah.
Every 2 years, we do a study, usually one offsite. We just tell them we bought these assets, we've got rid of these assets, and they update. And then they have one where they come here.
Yeah. So every second or third.
Until we had the onsite. Well, we realized before we had the onsite, that's why we had the onsite, was in all the assets, we had the buildings, but we did not have the decks and the wood walkways and the stairways.
Well, we took one look at the reserve study we got here and knew that something wasn't right about it. As I was looking through it, there was just a lot of stuff, that just weren't
How
correct.
does
So
that compare with your knowledge of other associations?
I-
You know,
I can tell you that in all reality, we're in really good shape compared to most people. We are. We're not where we need to be, but there are a lot of places who would love to be where we are. So that, I mean, I tell you that, hopefully you guys feel good about that. So you guys bought into a place that honestly, thanks to the work of the finance committee for the years, we moved ourselves from, you know, working off of lines of credit, because you guys been here long enough to know, into a place where we're healthy. Now, our reserve percentages are not healthy yet in POA and COA, but compared to a lot of places, you guys are in way better shape. In fact, some of the, I hear, I'm on a listserv with property managers all over the country and stuff, and they fire out questions, stuff like that. I can't tell you how many times I'm reading on there where they hardly have any reserves, or they don't have any reserves, or it's a special assessment every year that they're dealing to just in order to fix things. So we're doing good. We just got to keep moving that direction, particularly with honestly, with both POA and COA. Obviously, we got to get up a little bit. With COA, I worry about that just because of the age of our buildings. And the fact is, we don't have enough people hired even to be able to take care of all these buildings at the age that they are. But we don't have it in the budget to hire 5 more people that we really need to hire in order to be able to do it all. So we've got to kind of keep balancing that and kind of figure it out. But we are in a lot better shape than a lot of other places across the country. You hear the reserve company actually talk about it. The reserves company, they actually, it's kind of funny to hear them talk, not funny, it's tragic when they talk about how many places they go to where they have no money put away.
Yeah, I assume the investment income's helping you a little bit now too.
The investment income is helping us tremendously. That's a great thing. Not only that, but we do have some employee tax credit money that will be coming in to each one of the associations, which is not figured into the budget, which will go straight into reserves. That will help. We don't have it factored in yet because we don't have it. Right. But that's, for the most part, that's where it's gonna go.
We've
Yeah.
all discussed it. It
Yeah.
just hasn't happened yet.
Chris, what's the recommended percentage for those funds to be funded? The reserve?
Well, I mean, I recommend it. Well, ideally you get to 100%, but if you get up into 70%, that's good. That's good. That's really super healthy. Yeah. Yes, Forrest.
Thanks.
Well, you know, realistically, looking through your reserve study and target number is 80%.
Yeah. Mhm.
The onsite reserve study is what really killed our percentages. The money's still there.
Yeah, the money's the same. Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of increases. I'm not a big fan of inflation, but they're both reality today, and there's nothing we can do about those. The thing I've been asked, and not for this budget, but going forward, and Ken, you're gonna hate me, but I'm sorry.
We've already had the discussion.
I would love to see the finance committee and board put together a plan to get us back up to 80% by the year 2030.
Yeah, and I can tell you that's been the talk, and I guess all 3 boards actually kind of talked about it in that way. You know, I mean, all of them are concerned enough about the reserves that the talk was even, hey, do we throw a big assessment on there to get it bumped up in a hurry, or do we just keep, as long as we keep stepping it in the right direction? And so they're all focused in on making sure we continue to step that direction, and we need to.
Yeah, I don't know that the 60 will do it, and again, I defer to you guys.
Yeah.
If you could give us a plan to get us there over that period of time.
Well, we would love to do that. The problem that we have no idea what's going to happen as far as the economy is concerned.
Yeah, it's a lot of projections.
I
A lot of
The thing
projections.
that really was the big bugaboo, if you will, this last fiscal year was the increase in the insurance premiums.
Oh, yeah.
And
Kill COA, yeah.
It's huge,
Yeah.
but at least we got some. There's some companies that they refuse to write those PO or those COAs, and so they're gonna be uninsured.
Yeah, and it took 4 companies to get us insured, combining. So it's yeah, and
Yeah, and
anyways.
we're better off than any other HOA in the branch scenario I've spoken.
yeah, we are honestly, you know, I mean, that's the good news. Like I said, and I want to keep emphasizing that. I mean, you guys are in a great place. You guys have done a great job. And we live in a beautiful community and we're financially sound and we're continue to move the right direction. So all that's good stuff. Only bad stuff is we can't control the global economy and kind of what we're dealing with. Yeah, and the rate of inflation.
If you want to put perspective, last year Social Security gave most of us in here an 8% raise. You're only raising, I look at the condo 5%.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
if you put it in perspective, it's
Right.
not that bad.
Yeah, it's not, it's just the nature of the world we're living in.
Fair reserve is 30 to 70%.
Mhm.
A strong reserve is 70 to 130.
Yeah. That's why I said 70 is where they start considering it. Okay, now you're in great shape. So that's where we're trying to ramp to. All right. At the same time, what we want to ramp that direction, but we don't want to ignore the things we've got to get done around here that our reserve study says we need to replace. So speaking of that, let's talk some capital project stuff.
Which, okay, capital items for POA. Sorry, I thought I put these on the budgets. If I didn't, I apologize.
I may have missed them.
And, you know,
I don't think we have the sheet on there. It's just an amount. So yeah.
yeah, I've had so many budgets on my desk. Sometimes I forget what's attached to which one. So tennis court resurface, 25,000, tennis court lights, 5,000. Boundary fence, which is a 3-year project. Second year is 67,700,000. Asphalt cracks, repair to streets, 35,000. Clubhouse front door, $35,000.
Thank God.
Yeah.
That's a good spent.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. So to talk about several, and I'll start with the front doors. Hopefully, we'll. Oh, you got more? We have
more.
We have more.
New playground on Wimbledon, 12,000. Pool church furniture, 5,100. And the flock camera system, $3,150.
Okay, so we'll go through those. So since I started with the doors. So front doors, obviously, they not only look terrible, but they don't work and you can't get them open. And when you get them open, you can't get them closed. And I bet 30 times a day, I shut that front door. So we'll stop letting AC out and stuff. So it's they're in bad shape. We only have one company so far that's given us a bid that's to replace all that. You got to custom make them. I about fell out of my chair when Vaughn's told me how much it was. So we are in process of getting other bids. So we won't settle for that one. That was just to give us a number to throw in the budget. So hopefully we'll come in, hopefully substantially under. Ideally, we'd come in low enough for that one that we could also do the ones down below as well that also we can't keep closed instead of having to do it stair steps. But anyways, that's got to get done. So that's on the list.
It'll also have an ADA opener.
Yeah, an ADA. So we'll actually get ADA compliant with one side of it to be able to push the button and get people in. The flock camera is that's only $3,000, and that, just so you guys know what that is, that's a police department thing. So we have cameras to the front gate, but the flock cameras, it's a nationwide system now where if somebody who drives through that gate and they have a warrant out for their arrest or that's something like that, it immediately tags that license plate and sends a notice straight to the police department, and they immediately come out here and come and get, track down the vehicle. So it's actually helped stop crime in a lot of places. For $3,000 to add another layer of security for us, I think it's a good thing to keep people out of here that we don't want in here.
You just put one on the instant.
You just have to have one. Most places do two. We got cameras everywhere, but we just need one on the inbound. Yep, exactly. Ideally, you have one on the outbound lane, and they know it. But for $3,000, one on the inbound, it's big enough property. They get here pretty quick. Hopefully, we can make that happen. So, perimeter fence. Hopefully you guys have seen the first section of that's been done. It looks fantastic. Fonz is staining it right now. It looks really good. And it's no longer falling down or on the ground, which is good. So we have to do that in 3 phases because it's basically $260,000 or whatever. It's a lot of money. So $67,000 a year will cover 3 sections basically. So this next section Dot's happy will be coming her direction. We'll be taking this direction. And then the last one will be taking care of the rest of it going down Avondale. The last section will. So that needs to get done. Tennis courts, 2 years ago now, I think, we had to go fill all the cracks. We had cracks all over that thing. Well, that crack filler lasts about a year. Those things open back up again. Eventually you have to refinish those. Of course, otherwise you have to keep pouring money into them. So you don't want to throw good money after bad. So you just refinish it and get it repainted and stuff. So that's got to get done. The lights, we've been spending more money than we would like to, because those things go bad, burn out all the time. I don't know if you guys have been out playing pickleball. Jody, I'm just too soon for that probably.
Probably.
Yeah. But we have tons of people out there all the time. It's gone really big, which is great. But we got to update those lights so we can stop putting money into them. So fortunately we can just do the lights. Yeah, we'll go to LED lights, and hopefully we'll put them in there and we won't have to touch them again until all of us are not worrying about it anymore. So that'll be ideal. Yes.
Is there any plan for these ponds? That, like, particularly the one on the way out?
Yeah, I talked to Mark about that yesterday. And actually that's in the golf budget, but we got money to replace some pumps. We got just old pumps we got to replace. So that's one we're going to replace, and maybe we're probably going to try to do the one on 14-15 this year instead of waiting until next year. So he's getting prices on that right now.
Do you want to do that, or do we have any other questions?
Let's see, what else did I miss? Did I get all of them?
Tennis court.
Oh, the streets. There's an asphalt. This is a big one, and the board's been talking about this a little bit. We got some places up and down where we got some big cracks opening up, vegetation growing out, those types of things. So we got to fix some of that. So we basically got a bid to fill all the major cracks up and down, so we don't end up having to spend more money to replace road before we want to replace it. So that's one of those expenses you hate to have, but if you don't have it, you're going to end up dropping a whole lot more cash a lot sooner than you want to, based on your reserve study. So that's kind of a big one.
Chris, do we have to pay for the electricity for the big street lights and tall ones?
Those are, I think we pay for them, but they take care of them and put them in.
Pay for the electricity for.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, golf, capital projects, cart pass, $90,000. Pond fountains, 11,500. Dredge and scarify the 18 ponds, 26,000. John Deere Pro Gator, 15,400. Articulating rotary unit for tractor, 38,000. Then there's also a thing in here that says we're going to sell our current rough units, and it's only a penny. We're planning on selling them. We just don't know what they're worth yet. Because when we get the articulating rotary unit, we won't need the rough units, correct?
Yeah, I'll kind of explain that.
Okay.
Is that all of them?
That's it.
Okay, so with that one, we've got a couple of John Deere rough mowers that we are dropping money into right and left. They are just terrible. So we bought a tractor this year to be able to attach equipment to that we can use in place of a lot of these mowers. So that our articulating unit, basically you strap on the back of a tractor, and it's basically a rough mower. So we will handle, and it actually do a great job. And when we're not rough mowing, we can put other like the verticut stuff on that and use it for a bunch of different things. But with that, we will get rid of the two rough mowers that we were putting money into, seems like daily, to keep them up and running.
For those units, like $80,000 a piece as far as rough mowers.
If we're to replace the rough mowers, yes. Yeah, we were talking about, we were actually due to replace one of them in the reserve study, based on how we're throwing money into them, and we needed to replace both of them. But instead of doing that, we're going to buy one $30,000 thing we can pull behind a tractor, and we found out we have one of the machines that we currently have is actually turned into a really good surrounds mower for us, which is something else we were looking to have to buy. Instead of buying that this year, we swapped it over and bought the tractor instead, which allows us to save a substantial amount of money in buying equipment. So those are some of the things we're doing and working through. Test drive, we tested out a bunch of different things, trying to make sure it actually will handle the landscape that we have here without breaking all the time. But that's a big thing. I know they'll be happy to get rid of those. Larry, our mechanic down there, will be really happy to see those rough mowers go, because and so will I, because it's tough, sign off all those invoices to buy those parts non-stop, it seems like, for those 2 rough mowers to keep them up and going. And you got to have mowers for a golf course, otherwise you don't have a golf course. So that wouldn't be good. What's that? It's called then it's called a pasture, right? So the cart passes I mentioned, we've been budgeting, we used to budget $82,000 every year to do cart pass. Because of the increase in concrete prices, we jacked that up to $90,000 for this current year and moving forward. But once again, in 2024, that 90,000 buys less than it did this year. So that's why we've talked about, I think we're going to probably at this next October board meeting, we're going to spend a little extra money, because we don't have enough money left in the budget this year to do all of the rest of hole number 9, which really needs to be done. And we don't want to do part of that. So we're going to spend just a little bit more money, hopefully this year, get all of it done while it's a little bit cheaper than it will be next year. So those kind of some of the things we're thinking through. Is that everything?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yes, sir.
On your end, the only thing I'd ask Mark to look at, and the purpose of the fountain is to aerate the water to cut the problem with the altitude. But the problem with the fountain is you're drawing up into it, it's high maintenance. There are bubbler systems available, and I can give them the address of the guy that will do the same aeration. And since it's pushing air out instead of sucking water into it, they're real low maintenance.
Yeah, and it's good. We're also
save you some money.
Yeah, we're also talking about purchasing some grass carp again. There's a specific kind that actually cut down all that junk that's in there. So I've talked to him about that as well. So we're gonna hopefully we'll get these up and they'll stay up and running for a while. Thank you. That's good stuff. Okay, so COA.
Sorry, I was making notes on the task force about that. COA, reseal and repair Clubhouse Drive.
Okay.
27,000.
Yeah.
$101.97. Additional parking on Wimbledon, $20,000. Debt. Okay, when I give you building numbers, you have to understand that sometimes these change. But right now, it's looking like debts on 11, 2, 43, 44, 29, and 4. Those are building numbers. $90,000. John Deere carts, 61,000. Greenhouse expansion, 7,000. And that's all.
Okay, so a couple things specifically about that. Yeah, we're trying to reseal some of these parking areas for sure. Clubhouse Drive going down this direction. If you guys have driven down past the clubhouse, that is terrible. All right, so we got to take care of that. The additional parking on Wimbledon, and you're correct, we're run out of places, but there's a place down there, and it's right across from there. It's actually in a really good spot where we can put probably additional 6 places. It's right around the place where they're all parking on the grass. So it'll actually will feed about 5 of the condo buildings up there based on where it's located. So it will help a bunch. And you're correct, we were running out of places to add more parking, but we have been able to carve out enough like green spaces that it doesn't affect the look of it, but it does significantly help and relieve some parking issues. Like I said, I thought we were probably out of places, but then I went down to Wimbledon and I thought, hey, wait a minute, I think we could do it right here, and it's going to work out. So I'm not sure how many more of those we can find. The decks. And so that's another thing that we've done. We've been contracting out, especially on the more complicated buildings, the ones that are 3 stories, that kind of thing. Been contracting out with a company to do those. At the same time, we've been doing some ourselves, some of the simpler ones, ground floor type things that have been easier to do. And our guys are doing a fantastic job. They look really good. So we are to the point now where Fonz believes we can do more of them ourselves, which will save us money. So we're turning these wood decks into Trex decking. The composite decking, it looks fantastic. It will last for a long time. I have to throw maintenance into them. And so it's a really good thing. And it's good that our guys have been doing some of them on our own, because now, like I said, we feel really good about being able to turn these things around and not having to contract some of that stuff out. So we're happy about that.
Greenhouse expansion.
Yeah, greenhouse expansion. So we we go through a lot of flowers. It's much cheaper for us to grow our own than it is to buy flowers. So it's another way we're trying to make sure we save some money, and it's been pretty tight. I wish we had one place on property we could put one big greenhouse that everybody could use, but we're landlocked. It's not easy to find here, so we're just trying to expand the ones that we have and fit it into the space that we have. So we can keep buying less flowers all the time to be able to, we can grow our own. That's the idea. So any questions about any of those capital projects or any thoughts?
Just a comment, they're doing a great job keeping the grounds. in
Thank you.
place.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're working, and honestly, I'd say yes, but we still got a lot of work to do. I think there's a lot of places we can improve that we are really, we particularly, honestly, not just in front by George's condo, but right here in front of when you come into the clubhouse here, that first one you see has been terrible all year. That will not be that way this next spring. So as you can see, we've already ripped a bunch of stuff out. We're going to get on some of this stuff. So we got the back looking fantastic. We need to, and you can see, I don't know if you guys pay attention when we brought in some parking blocks all the way through this to move some of the cars off of the center island, so we can actually put irrigation in there, and we can clean up the land and make it just all look better where the cars aren't parked on top of it. So we continue to try to improve. We've got goals to make this place look even far better than what it is now. So we're going to keep pushing that direction. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if this is the appropriate thing. I live in one of the condos, and when I noticed when I'm walking around, they all have handicap parking, but they don't have ramps for people who are handicapped to get up to the condo. We've had some people that have stayed in the condo minus legs in wheelchairs.
Mhm.
They have no way to get up on the sidewalk to get into the condos, even if the condos are on the front level. So when you brought up about the ADA compliant door, I just wondered, are we in compliance by just providing a parking spot? I mean, it's like right in the middle of the condo, and there's a curve this high.
Well, based on a lot of things, I said, yes, we're in compliance only because of when they were built, the fact that we don't, as far as an association, we're selling to our owners. All right. So now whether the nightly rental owners are in compliance, if they're having people in there, good question. But I will also say that we actually don't have handicap parking in front of every building. So that's one of the issues where we're talking about everybody gets a spot. We don't really have that. And there's several buildings where you put in a handicap space is a problem, because there are not enough spaces in that building. And if there's one sitting open and you got 4 people parked on the grass, or double parked or triple parked behind some of these buildings, it becomes an issue. So that's something we're always looking at and trying to fix, like when we're adding these spaces, but and we'll hopefully keep trying to improve that. But as far as being in compliance, we're not in violation. But would we love to have it? Yeah, that'd be great. It'd be really helpful. Yeah.
Doing that, then you start cutting down.
That's exactly right.
Because you've got.
You're right. Exactly. And if you got nobody in there that's being used, and you've got, 100 people looking for a spot, I mean, somebody's going to invariably park in there.
Well, I noticed our park, that handicap spot's open all the time, and it's right in the middle of the building, and I'm like, I don't even know why it's marked handicap, because it's not a viable spot for someone who even shows up and needs
Right.
a wheelchair.
And why they get done, I don't have any idea. So that's been that way but yeah. Good question. Okay, what other questions you guys have about capital projects or anything else, or budget wise? Are we ready to move on to covenant and bylaw stuff? Yes, sir.
I think you did a great job with the budget.
Thank you.
As much as I hate increases, I think you did a great job with the budget, and also I'd like to comment on the golf budget. We've had a few discussions about previous sales forecast. And it really went out of the way to tighten that up, and did an awful lot of good work on that.
Thanks. Yeah, well, it's been a lot of work. Just so you guys know, process for that. We started working on this budget in June. All right. So Tammy and I, the managers, then we go with the finance committee, budget workshop with the boards, back to the drawing board, back to the finance committee, back to the boards. That's a lot of work, which is it should be. For budgets this big, you need to put a lot of time and effort into it. But there's a lot of people that go into really kind of digging through this and making sure we're doing what we should be doing. So thank you, Forrest. I appreciate that on behalf of everybody that put a lot of effort into it. So
Well, something to understand is we went through COVID, we had some banner year, it was a banner year for golf. So then we budgeted for more money, but we were like, there's no way we will ever hit that again. And then we did, and we're like, okay, so then we budgeted for that number, and then we went past it, so then it was like, at what point is the top point?
Right.
You know, we didn't want to budget for all this money and then not get it.
Yeah, and honestly, for golf this year, I mean, from a business perspective, you look at it, ideally, that's what how you'd like to forecast it, but it's pretty aggressive. And which is a good thing. We want to shoot for that and kind of strive for it. And we're going to have to work really hard to hit those income numbers. Hopefully we can do it, but it also, doing that, it allows our budget to look more like what it should look if we can actually match those income numbers. Because of those income numbers, and with golf, with a place like golf and the grill, the higher your revenue, the higher cost of goods sold. And so everything it just kind of goes like this.
Noticing, looking at listening to the POA budget, a lot of that capital budget is going to upgrading and then be a lot of expense budget. Where's that committee on the amenity fee for nightly rental? Because
The committee has done its thing. The boards will, and you're welcome to attend, but there'll be a combined COA POA board meeting. I believe it's probably gonna end up being October 28th, the same time the COA meeting is 10 o'clock in the morning. We're there. Your guess is as good as mine. So, but the committee's kind of done their thing. They've made a recommendation. Now it's up to the boards to decide what's going to happen next. So, okay, so let's talk covenant and bylaw stuff. So, as you guys hopefully are aware, and some of you guys maybe have never picked up a copy of the covenants, never bothered to look at them. They're the originals. All right, when this place was first opened, the developer, I'm sure, copied and pasted them from, some other development somewhere. All right, and then modified it a little bit. They still talk about telegraphing. Exactly. So they're ancient. And there's a lot of, I think, misconceptions about what our covenants currently say compared to what they actually say. And the prime example of that is, and I mentioned this earlier, the common misperception at this point in time is that all the owners vote on the budgets. And that's the way it's supposed to be. And that you can't raise the budgets the assessments by more than 10%. Guess what? That's not what our covenants say. Fortunately, we don't necessarily do what our covenants say at this point in time, but the covenants actually say that the board approves the budget, and only does it go out to a vote of the owners if we raise it more than 10%. And nowhere does it say if the budget doesn't pass that we go back to the previous year's budget, because you guys aren't even supposed to vote on it. So that's not how we operate, fortunately. And we actually take it one step further, because right now you don't vote on the golf budget. The POA board just approves the assessment. So the way we've written up the new covenants is that you guys approve all budgets, all three. It's how it should be, right? Especially with the budgets the size they are. That's the way it should be. So that's one big change that's in there. Another big change is the fact that we took out all of the developer language that should have gone away 30 years ago. When it got handed over, it should have been rewritten at that point in time to eliminate that and actually move it forward into the next phase. All right, it didn't happen. All right, so all that developer language is still in there. Not only that, all the legalese, all right, it's almost unreadable. All right, but you can attest to this, Betty. She was on the committee that did this before. All right, I mean, it's terrible. And I will say this right now, and I mentioned it, I think, in my Clubster post. Ideally, when we put out this new version of the covenants and bylaws, the correct procedure to do that is to give everybody a marked up version of it, right? So you can see what are the changes. The problem is we couldn't even work on it, all right, because it's not a revision, it's a rewrite, all right. So we actually we started out with 3 meetings with the marked up version, and we were like, you couldn't make sense of it. All right. So once you pull it, and not only that, the covenants are supposed to be who we are, right? But our covenants currently have all kinds of jumbled up stuff in there that really shouldn't be in there. The stuff that should be in the bylaws that are in the covenants and vice versa. So the article numbers don't even necessarily match up now. So to try to do that in one document, not possible. So the general thought was, we're gonna give you a clean copy. They're gonna give you a month to look at the clean copy. You can compare it to the old one. It won't take you long. You read the first page of the old one and then go read the new one. You'd be like, okay, I don't want any part of the old one anymore. All right. It's almost unreadable. I mean, it's really bad. All right. Now, fortunately, our attorney was actually pretty happy about the fact that we took all the legalese out of it. All right. And because he's like, wow, this really reads nice. And it does. It's so much easier to read now. You don't have to have a law degree to go through it and see what it says. So real simple, just pull it up and read it. And then if you guys have questions at any point in time, call me, come by and see me, send me an email. All right. And I've had several people that have done that already. They're like, okay, what about this? There's one place where it actually says in the covenants that it gives the POA the authority to charge guests for use of amenity. And so that automatically, some people went, oh, this is the COA, not the owner fee. It's not. All right. We have outside people that come and use our golf course. Right. We have people, exactly. We have people who rent this room right here and that room right there. It gives us the ability to do that. All right. So the COA says what we can do, what we are. The covenants. The bylaws are how we go about doing it, and the rules are regular. That's how we go about doing everything. All right. And Forrest was great on that to be able to kind of differentiate. Hey, this needs to be here. This needs to be here. And it actually reads much better. Now the covenants, who we are, this defines us, right? And now the bylaws actually will tell us what we can do, what we can't do. And nowhere in the bylaws does it say we're going to charge everybody $5 to use the pool. All right. Everybody hear that? Nowhere does it say that. So I don't want to hear that rumor coming back now around again.
The rules are we modifying those?
Though the rules actually are modified by the board. They can be done in any board meeting. Yeah, so we don't touch those. That's a board decision at each board meeting. That's not something that owners vote on. So the bylaws, yes, and the bylaws easier to revise. And here's another thing that's important is that once, and I'm saying this positive, praying hard, once we pass these covenants, we're still stuck with our current covenants for 3 more years. All right, still stuck with it. Now the new covenants we've changed, all right, to then it will be 180. If we change them again, it'll 180 days before they take effect, all right, which makes much more sense. All right, the original ones, like I said, these are the original ones, so they were set up by the developer for the developer, which is why it's 3 years before it's going to take into effect. And if they would have had done these as soon as the developer handed it over, that 3-year time frame was for everything to be getting set up the way it was supposed to. That's why it was set up that way. All right, and the original thing was what, 26, the first, it's 26, once you submit it to the city, it's like the good for 26 years, and then automatic re-ups every 10 years after that. And we dropped those numbers down to more, to a more usable. It drops down every revision is for a 5-year time frame. That's really not that relevant. It just brings it more up to date. One of the other big things we did, the golf committee, back when we had associate members, which although the associate member language was still in there, it's still in there because that's the original stuff. When that went away, that cut our golf committee in half. So now we have a $2 million budget that has oversight by 3 people. All right. Now, having said that, I will tell you that it's not just a 3-person board that's running all that money. They still have the president of the POA board still runs that meeting. Everything still runs through the finance committee. It's not like, hey, we got 3 people deciding how they want to spend money, blah, blah, blah. But bottom line is we should have 6 people on that committee worthy of the amount of budget that they actually run. All right. So the new covenants don't have but the old covenants and bylaws allow for a 6-person committee. Now, once again, we won't see it for 3 more years. And if we vote down the covenants, then who knows how long we're going to be in that same boat. All right. So other than those things, honestly, there's not a lot of change for how we operate. There's not. We actually wrote those up to match kind of how we're doing business currently, which makes Makes sense, because we like how we're doing business currently, and except for the areas where we know we need to do it a little bit differently, but we're limited because of the old covenants. And then we fixed it. But read them. They're not a hard read now. It's like 9 to 19 pages. We cut like 12 pages of just between developer information and legalese. We got like 12 pages out of it. All right. And it doesn't affect how we do business. All right. It's just junk that shouldn't have been in there. It doesn't need to be in there. So read them. And then if you got questions, hit us with them. All right. That's what this is for. So hopefully as we go on and by next week, more people will have had a chance to read them, and we'll go through it. So let me ask you, what questions? You were yes, Betty.
Well, if both pass, I realize we're waiting 3 years on the covenants to go into effect. Is it gonna cause you any trouble that the new bylaws might go into effect?
That is a great question. And so for people online, if you can't hear that, she asked if we're voting on both the bylaws and covenants, and the new covenants wouldn't go into effect for 3 years, but the bylaws get approved, is that going to cause us any problems? And that's one of the last things I did, because I was kind of concerned about that. Is there anything in the new bylaws that will give us the cause issue with us with not being able to do the covenants for another 3 years? And I couldn't find anything. And I talked to the attorney about that as well. So, for the most part, I don't want to say this to you, but we're somewhat operating outside of our current covenants to the extent we can in some areas, right? It doesn't say we can't do it that way. It doesn't say we can't have you guys vote on the budgets. It just doesn't, say you do. So we do that. All right. So I think nobody's going to have a problem with those types of things. I don't think it's going to be a huge issue, but that's a great question. And I did look at that. I didn't see anything that was going to trip us up. So, yeah. What other questions might you have?
The new covenants also provide a legal way for nightly renters to use the amenities.
Yes, that's other big thing. And hopefully nightly rental owners get that, is that currently under our current covenants and bylaws, there's really no provision for outside guests to use our amenities at all. Our hotel guests can. That's how out of date these things are. Because in the original development, in the original plan for this, there was going to be a hotel. And so that information, yes, if you read it, that's in our governing documents. All right. So that has been fixed. All right. So now, yes, outside guests can use our amenities. And no, there's nothing in there saying we have to charge the next number of whatever else. All right. So the covenants give us the ability to charge people, so they can charge people to use the golf course and charge people to use the man, whatever we need to do. All right. But it doesn't say what we're going to do. That is yet to be determined. And it's not defined in either one of these two documents. All right. What other questions might we have about the covenants and bylaws? I think let me see if there's anything else I missed in this, and I sent this out quite a bit ago. I think that's the highlights. We deleted the provision related to parking rights because it's not doable in our community, no matter how we do it. So it needs to go away so we don't have causing ourselves some problems, and we keep solving the parking issue the way we've been solving it by building space as long as we can. Yes, Ken.
My wife and I both received emails allowing us to vote. Do you want us both to vote on these things?
Great question. All right, this transitions us perfectly into CondoVoter. Nice segue. I'm going to take you along for all these meetings, Ken. So, okay. One more thing. Yes, sir.
First, we tried to update bylaws and covenants 10 years ago. And the committee that worked on it, they worked their tails off, and I think did a great job.
Phenomenal job. Yeah.
And that's when we discovered we can't.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I hope is that every owner, all 955 property owners, will vote. We need to know what the owners think, and we have to have everybody voting in order to reach the numbers that we need.
We did, yep.
Having worked on it, I believe the best way to look at it is read them. And if you believe this, even if there's one or two things you might like worded differently, and having worked on them, there's one or two things I'd still like to see worded differently, but
right.
If you believe that this is the best way to operate Point Royale, vote yes on the.
Perfect. You just made my closing argument for it. Thank you. That was very well said. Yes. Yeah, Jim.
Just a quick question. Noticed in there, there's a legal description that describes the property. Has that been verified as being accurate?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
because at one time, somebody told me that there was like one end of one of these condo buildings that never gotten annexed into the city. I don't know whether that was true or not.
There are properties within Point Royale that are not part of the city limits.
Some of them are in county.
Mhm.
That's must have been what I was.
Single.
Yeah.
I just know that
Yeah.
the condo buildings are, but some of the single family homes opted not to join the city.
Okay, that must have been.
We found out about it when we were doing the garage sale. They're like, oh, that's not one of ours. We're like, what? So, yeah.
That was a modification of the rumor.
Yeah. Okay, so let's jump into,
Yeah.
yeah, I do want to say, before we jump onto the voting thing, which is big. Greg, I can't tell you how many hours I spent going through the stuff that the last committee that doing this revision went through. Thanks, Betty was on that, did a phenomenal job with it. Hugely disappointing how that all shook out. And when you've got somebody who's kind of heading the committee to rewrite is the same guy that heads the committee to shoot it down. I don't fathom that, and it makes me feel really bad for all those people that spent all those hours, and you know what it's like to go through and spend all those hours, because we did it. We sat for every Friday for I don't know how many months, 4 hours a Friday, pouring through this stuff, going through it. It takes a lot of work, and that first group did a fantastic job and was up against I guess an insurmountable obstacle, which was crazy, but this community has to move forward. And guys, we still have a bunch of people here. I can tell you right now, because I have access to see the votes at this point in time, not who voted how or whatever, just the tallies. All right. We've got 10 people that already have voted no on the covenants. I guarantee they haven't read them. All right. But they voted no because we have people here who are honestly just a little bit on the cynical side. And I think yeah, and so, as you guys are out talking to people, I mean, talk to them. Like I said, if somebody goes through all of it and they think it's just poorly written and they think it sets us up for failure, I don't know how they could come to that conclusion, and they want to vote no at that point in time. I get it. But I would hope that everybody would take the time, look at it. And if you got questions, and I've had several people, honestly, they've been through it all and they asked me a couple of great questions. And it took me one sentence to answer. They're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And they were happy with it. Right? Because it was just a lack of and one of the examples was a gentleman who owns a condo who said, hey, does this in the covenants mean that we're going to start charging nightly rental guests? I said, no, it doesn't. It gives us the ability to charge people to use the golf course, whatever. That makes perfect sense. All right. But could have very easily, and there may be some of the people who voted no, read that and said, oh, I know the direction they're going, and vote no. Ask questions, and we'll be happy to answer it. So it's once you go through all of that, if you go through the covenants and the bylaws, there's no way you'll come to the end of that with the same conclusion that they were when they asked that first question, right? You just won't come to that conclusion. So spend the time, go through it, because it's really important. All right, now let's talk about voting. So we knew in order to get this done, another one of those insurmountable things that last group had to deal with was they were going to have everybody vote by filling out a ballot and going to have it notarized. Well, if you got to get 67% of the people to actually vote for it, all right, and you can't get 40% of the people to vote, there is no way you're going to get people to go out and get something notarized. They're not going to take that effort and to get it back. All right. This community, fortunately, is in a better place than it was then. All right. So, and with the technology that we have, with the people who own that don't live here, that are pretty much absentee, all right, the only way we're going to get them to vote is by going online. And the beauty of using a company like CondoVoter is we sent them out all the emails. So they've already sent you guys all an email. As soon as you get done voting, you'll get no more emails. All right. But you're going to keep getting emails until you vote. All right. And not only that, but I'm going to keep putting it out on Clubster. We're going to keep putting it out on Appfolio. We're going to start making phone calls. We have to get this done. As a community, we have to get this done. And if we don't get it done this year, guess what? We're coming back at it again next year. And then we're going to do it because we got to get it done. So spread the word. We got to get it out there. So CondoVoter is the company. I had some people say, oh, I'll wait for the POA voter email. All right. CondoVoter is the company. All right. They're out of Canada. All right. I shopped this out to like 5 or 6 different companies that do this type of thing. Theirs was the neatest, cleanest, cheapest, but not cheap as in cheap, but they cost a little bit less, but it was neat and clean. They set up all fours. They set up really super fast. In fact, they got the emails out quicker than I actually
Yeah, that's why we were.
wanted
scrambling
to
Friday night.
kind of scrambled at the end. Yeah, it was kind of funny. Yeah. It was kind of funny because I was, my usual thing, I was in the office and I went out and walked around the property and I came back and there was 3 voter and I started with the lower one. And it said, hey, let us know if you approve this. We'd love to get the emails out. And I started responding, hey, it looks good. Give us some notice before you send them out. I want to make sure that we warn everybody. We put all our information out first. And then I opened up the second email, that they sent, which was, we hadn't heard back from you. We went ahead and so and this was the couple, so they were quick. All right. I mean, and because they try to guarantee a quorum. Of course, we're not looking for a quorum, but we're looking to pass a different deal. But they want to make sure that we're successful. So the more time they give to everybody to vote and the more they can get, word out to everybody, the better chance they got to do what they promised. So I appreciate that. But like I say, it was just a little bit jumping the gun for what we were trying to.
Out at 4:30 on Friday night. So everybody has to read it all weekend before they call us. And then it actually happened, and that was not intentional.
Yeah, we were actually planning to do it on a Monday, so we would all be here to be able to answer questions, but they already sent it, so it didn't really work out that way. But anyway, so if you've got 2 people in your family and you got 2 emails, or if you got 4 emails or whatever, all those emails got sent one. But if you own 1 home, you guys get 1 vote. So it's based on your property. And if the 2 emails tied to that 1 account, if 1 person votes, then the second person can't go on and vote. All right. So you got 1 vote per property. So nothing has changed about how we, according to our covenants, all right, have to vote. All right. So you get 1 vote for property that you own. All right. So they control for all of that. No problem.
But this way, if 1 person actually pays attention to their email and
And
somebody
somebody
else
else,
doesn't,
yeah.
you're gonna hit one of them.
But it's
Right.
set up so you can't stuff the ballot box.
You can't stuff the ballot box. That's correct. That's correct. Unless you own 10 properties, then you get to put 10 votes. Yeah, exactly. That's not stuff.
That's my question.
Mhm.
You get 10 emails.
Yes, they actually send it out for all of it. And I was able to check because they do it by property. So I was able to check and they actually Branson Night, so it's 6 properties. So as I was going through seeing, it can show me who voted. It just doesn't show me what they voted. But for each time there was a Branson Night. It showed me their check mark they voted.
Because the reason I ask that is somebody might think, okay, I've got 10 properties, I vote 1 time, it's for all 10.
Well, no, that's exactly the way it works. You actually get all those emails, so you're gonna do it. But when you vote once, if you have 10 properties, that's 10 votes for each one of those.
Oh,
That's
so you don't have to hit.
So you don't have to fill out the ballot. You don't have to keep voting, correct? So you don't have to remember, what did I vote for last time? It's
You have
good
a
to give you the
single
votes.
we have single family homes that have a house and a lot. They have 2 votes, but they only have to vote 1 time.
Once, but you get 2 votes. Right.
I mean, you got people that have.
It's clean. That's why I liked it. It's very clean.
Compare cost of postage.
Oh, it's cost us $1,000 for CondoVoter. We spent I bet we spent $2,000 easy on postage, ink, paper, plus the CPA
Is
firm.
your intention to use this from now on?
Honestly, if it works great, then yeah, I think so. To me, it's smart. It saves us. And I realize, and I realize that there are people out there, I've already talked to some of them, who want the piece of paper. I get it. But to save several $1,000s for this community, if the technology is available to us, we are being irresponsible if we don't use it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah, okay.
I just have a quick
Okay.
question. So if you've got my email, you've got Norm's email,
Mhm.
I go in and vote.
Yep.
It stops emailing him.
If he clicks on it, it'll
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, okay.
It'll stop emailing it too.
We've already tried him.
I assume that your wife on the other.
We've
Yeah,
already
correct.
taught a condo. A group of siblings own a condo, And one of them has already emailed us and they're like, hey, we all got this email, but we can't vote. It's like, well, your sister was already voted.
Already voted. Yeah, so it catches for it. So it's slick like that. Yes, Joni.
You know it works, because they were all like, what happened?
Okay.
What percentage?
Hold on just a second.
The question that I have is, our next door neighbor doesn't even own a computer.
Okay.
Let alone have an email.
Great question. So we know there is a small percentage of people who do not have email addresses still here.
We have 10
10, all right.
properties that
So
don't have-
we are going to call them. We have a ballot printed. We have a ballot printed up. We have the whole packet printed up. They can come into the office and fill one out, because by golly, we need everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't want to miss anybody. So, but there are some of those folks. And honestly, and I'll keep putting the word out, if somebody wants a hard copy, wants to come in and look at it, I mean, come on in. I mean, you can always pay to print stuff out. I'll pull it up on my computer. I'll give you my printout copy. We will figure out a way. We want to make sure everybody can do it. Everybody understands it. Hence doing all of these meetings and questions and answer sessions and that type of stuff. We want to make sure that
We have hard copies.
yeah, we got hard copies. So we can do it. We just don't want to print any more than we have to.
We don't.
Yeah,
900.
killing trees, exactly. So, and like I said, the hours it takes to put all that together and ship all that stuff out.
I mean,
Yeah, it's, and that's and it's ridiculous when you're not having an entire set of covenants and bylaws in there at 20 pages apiece.
No.
All right. I can't even imagine what that postage bill would
It's
be
pretty
now.
pricey.
Yeah, because it was crazy 2 years. Last year, they jacked the price up big time on bulk mailings.
Mhm.
So the cost to send everything out last year was stupid expensive. And I know it's more this year. So so this gets us away from throwing that money in the
Plus,
trash. So
it'll kind of be like Chinese water torture. If you don't vote, it's just gonna keep.
we're gonna keep
We're keep-
we're gonna keep pounding. Yeah.
This is Department of Spending.
Need for it.
67% have to vote. All right, so like I said, and we don't typically get 40% of the people to vote, period. So we are gonna we've got to get the word out. We gotta go after it like crazy. We've got to get this done. Like I said, and for the community,
40 people.
yeah, for the community, you guys want to get it. I can tell you right now, we've had 70 people vote on the COA side. We've had like 11 for POA, which is fine. He said, honestly, I'm happy with people not voting yet, but our candidate forum happens on the 23rd.
Yeah.
All right, we still have 2-3 weeks after the candidate forum. All right, I mean, I want people to be informed. I want them to read the covenants, read the bylaws, even if it's the first time they've ever done it. All right, go through it, read it, ask questions. All right, I think once people do that, there's no way they're going to vote no unless they just hate their life, hate the community, and want to keep us in the dark ages. I mean, it's just, I just don't see any reason. Now, obviously, we're 11, 12 people voted down. All right. Hopefully those people can log back on the same email address and change their vote. Hopefully they'll come to one of these meetings, ask questions. Yes, the same email vote, I think the same email, probably just not a different email.
So the
Yeah.
app, the Webster, the email, the same thing will be sent to all 3 of those.
Well, the email is going straight from CondoVoter straight to your email. All right, we are putting information out there on Clubster. Vote, here's what it looks like, here's all the information you need. No, you're voting on CondoVoter. So you'll have an email that'll say from CondoVoter.
Yes.
And it's as simple as this. When you click on that email, there'll be a button that says vote. You click on it, it goes straight to the ballot. There's no password, there's no nothing. It is stupid simple.
Is that out right now?
It's out right now. You can do it. It came out Friday.
Okay.
So check your email, check your spam. All right, but it says from CondoVoter.
Yes.
Now, here's the deal. When you log in there, when you go to the ballot, all right, you can, the first thing that's going to pull up if you're on the POA side, all right, you don't vote on the COA candidates, we vote on everything else. It will have, the first thing it will be the candidates. All right, it'll say vote for 3 of these 4. And on each one of you can click on their name and then click resume and you can read their bio. All right, and you can close it, click on the next one, read their bio, read all of them, vote for 3. And then it'll drop you down, covenant revision. All right, you can click on it, view document. You can look at the whole document. All right, close it, vote. Next one, bylaw revision. Click on it, read it. All right, vote it. And then the last thing is the budget, I think. You can open that up. The entire budget is there. Usually we send out the budget summary because once again, that's what all we're required to send out, and most people don't read it anyways. But the budget summary's got a lot of information on it. It just doesn't have every line item broken down. But you can look at that whole thing. So not only can you look at that information on CondoVoter, but on your owner's portal, that PointRoyaleGolfVillage.com that you should have a password for. If you don't have it, holler at us. You can click on it and look at the 2024 budget. So if you don't want to get into your ballot just yet, if you're super, I don't want to do it, I don't want to mess something up. Go look at them on the portals. All right, you can check out the full COA budget, POA budget, golf budget. Now you don't vote on the golf budget, so don't get confused. All right, there's no provision for you guys voting on the golf budget. All right, but it's there. Go look
You can
at it.
also read the covenants, the
Yep.
original working covenants.
Yeah, the original working covenants, if you don't have, you can read those now. Go start reading those. You won't want to read them for long because they're painful. All right.
Yeah.
And then close out of that and then go read the new ones. All right. And you'll see, okay, this is a really good change. All right. So
We also put it up on that.
We put it on that.
the entire packet is an AppFolio. And people say, oh, 89% of our owners are on AppFolio.
Well, that's good.
All right, which is good. So that's actually the place we can get for some reason, we got a lot of people out there who still don't take Clubster, still get Clubster. I don't understand. I get it. Some people are very concerned about their information being out there, but it's an internal thing just for Point Royale. And we're not sharing everybody's contact information. We're just sending you emails, or you have an app, but you could look at it. If you're not on Clubster, get on Clubster. All right, it's the best way to get
We did
information
not
from
send
us.
it out. We did not send the packets out through Clubster though, because we do have some people in Clubster that are not homeowners, that
Yeah.
are golfers that want to know when we're having tournaments
Yeah.
and events.
Right.
So that's why we didn't send the full packet out through Clubster. At least in AppFolio, you have to be an owner to get in to see it.
Correct.
That way our budgets just aren't out in the world.
So if any,
They
yeah.
can be,
Yeah,
not,
so if anybody says, oh, hey, they didn't send us the packet, they're hiding stuff. All right. Well, first of all, there's no way to hide anything because we post everything. All right, we post the full budgets every month. We post all the meeting minutes every month, all those kinds of things. Yeah, the full financials are on there every month. All right, after they're approved by the finance committee and the boards. So, and the budgets are fully on there. You can see them. Everything is available. All right, we just didn't mail them because we're going to save a whole lot of money. All right, which is important. If somebody needs to physically get a copy in their hand, come to the office. We'll pull up a chair. We'll give you the packet. You can look through the whole thing. All right,
So basically now CondoVoter is nag until you vote.
it will nag and don't expect to just be CondoVoter. I will be peppering everyone through Clubster. We'll be sending information out through AppFolio. I apologize for all the additional communications, but we have to get this done. So anybody that you know that's prone to not vote, all right, push them. This is a big deal. I mean, we've got to get this done.
And if a person doesn't have a computer, nothing.
Come to the
they're
office.
gonna call them.
Hey, we're going to call them. Yes, we're going to call them.
Do they, okay, because I've
We're
talked
gonna-
to so many people, they don't know anything about this.
Yeah, and I'm sure they don't, and that's the problem. So many, and that's why we can't get people to vote. So many of them, I don't want to say absentee owners. Some of them live here, but they're like, hey, I'm happy. It's pretty here. I can afford myself. So I don't need to worry about all that noise. And I get it because we've gone through some tough times here.
Yeah, I'll let everybody else take care of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
get in the mail. They just went out this morning because it took us a moment, because like we said, it went out faster than we thought. You will get in the mail a bright green number 10 envelope that says voting information from Point Royale.
Oh,
It has, you can, he can.
Yeah, you should have.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Meeting notices for both meetings, because we weren't gonna go through and figure out who gets what meeting. If you're not in the COA, don't go to the COA meeting. Letter from Chris. Some changes are afoot, and it explains why we're doing CondoVoter and what we're doing differently.
Right.
So you will be getting this in the mail. So all those people that are not on Clubster and
Yeah.
haven't read the email from Appfolio, they're gonna get a snail mail.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
that's-
possible we might even come up with some door hangers. I don't know. We're gonna do what we can. We actually will probably even end up with some volunteers who are calling people. I've got one already that's going to.
We're just not there yet.
Just, no, it's, you get a separate, one of the condo boards, COA association, one for the POA, it's all on one.
all-
I haven't opened it, looked.
Yeah, it's all on one. Oh, and one more thing. Yeah. Right. If you're a condo owner, all those things I mentioned for POA, you will also have COA board members. That's the only additional thing except for the COA budget. You have COA board members and then COA budget. And there's one more thing that I mentioned, that forgot to mention on CondoVoter. At the bottom, it will ask you, do you want to give your proxy to the board if you are not going to attend? That is for floor votes on the day of the meeting. And honestly, it's only so we can approve the minutes from the year before. We have to have a quorum to approve the minutes. All right, so we've gone through years where we didn't have enough people at the condo meeting to do it. And we knew that if we do this online, if everybody votes online and they don't have to come to vote to the meeting to vote, all right, we might not be able to get quorum for either one. So we thought, okay, since it's just voting on the minutes, if we put on there, I'm gonna give my proxy to the board, so we have 400 people that assign their proxy to the board, that means we all be actually go to pass the minutes. So,
The reason I asked that about having two separate emails, because I saw it in there, I knew what it was, that it says, to the owners of Point Royale Golf Village -COA.
mhm.
That would lead me to believe that.
That's
You own a
because
condo.
You own a condo, you get to vote on those condo
And if it was
things.
a homeowner.
it would say POA, correct. Yep, correct. And we haven't actually seen those. Actually, I take that back. They sent me, I got to see the email, but when I click on vote, I can't get in because I'm not a homeowner.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, forced.
But the point is, these condo owners are members of the POA. We're not enemies.
The only reason I brought that up is it might be confusing that people might think.
Yeah, and
If
it's,
they're a condo, or they may think I'm supposed to get a separate one for the.
yeah, and you're right. And like I said, one of the first people I talked to about this, because I actually went to the grill, said, hey, Kathy, I said, pull up your email. Is it there? And another POA member said, oh, I got that. I saw one say, CondoVoter, I'm just waiting for the one that says POA voter. Like, oh, no.
Yeah, there
It's
isn't one yet.
it's the company CondoVoter, yeah. But that's a great question. Yeah.
Given the importance of this, wouldn't it be beneficial if everybody who attends one of these, be it by Zoom or anything else, talks to 5 of their neighbors, or 5 people that
Yeah.
No, talk about
5
buddies.
fix the hall with, whatever. Impresses just how important this is.
Yeah, you actually, once again, great job, just stole my closing statement. So that's exactly what I was getting ready to say, is that my encouragement is go talk to your neighbors. Call people that you know maybe are not, so we've got to get this done. We have to get this. Like I said, we already are gonna suffer under, and I say suffer under, we're getting by. But we're gonna have to deal with these current covenants for 3 more years as it is. All right. And every year we're like, you know, here's a fine example of the problem. When you've got a 3-member golf committee, they do a phenomenal job. They're great people, they're harsh, but you get one of them that gets sick, and now we still have a quorum with 2 people with our POA board president sitting over the top of that. So I need a motion to approve the minutes. All right, first, second. All right, all in favor? Aye. There's only 2 people.
Yeah. there's
All
no-
right, I mean, yes, we can function that way. Is it ideal? No. All right, but we've got that for 3 more years, people. All right,
Yeah.
so don't complain about it, because that's just the way, can't do anything about it. All right, we tried, we looked into all the ways we could get around that, and our attorney said, don't do it.
Yeah, we're also trying to finagle it.
Yeah, it just don't do it. All right, so we're not going to, we don't want to get ourselves in legal trouble, so but we got an opportunity to fix it. Now's the time. Yes, ma'am.
I'm hoping I didn't invalidate my ability to vote, because I didn't see the little statement that said, do not share this email. And I tried to share it so the other person can go in and read all those forms.
It won't invalidate yours. They just won't be able to vote off of it. So, yeah.
If they
Yeah.
have access to Appfolio, they can go in and read all of it there.
Yeah.
If
And that's
that's
fine,
easier.
because that was why I was gonna share it, because I went in and looked at vote and I read all that stuff and I thought, oh, I'll share
Good
it.
job.
And I was like, saw the big bold print that said, do not share, this will invalidate your vote, and I'm like, oh, no.
Hopefully it did, but check, I said, hopefully I can look and see, I can see if you have voted or not. So they haven't wiped out your vote, then I should be able to check that, I think. So I can't see
Or
what
just
people
wait till the
vote.
next email when they say
Yeah.
they have to vote.
I can just kind of keep up with the percentages as it going, as far as the covenants and stuff. I know I can see how many people voted for like the bios, but I can't, I mean, I won't know until
Still
the vote.
anonymous is
Yeah,
what he's
the
trying to say.
voting will close on the Friday at noon before the Saturday meetings. And they will send us a report. And we'll all be surprised together.
All right.
All right, so it was that, or we pay a little extra money and somebody zooms in and we try to, but I told you, just send us a report that we've got it and we can give it out to everybody. What other questions do you guys have? This has been a great group. This is definitely one that hopefully we can record and put it out there for everybody, but encourage people to come to these, and not just this, you guys. I know I'm preaching to the choir because you guys are here. But from my perspective, it's frustrating as somebody who works for you and wants the best for you and for this community to, hear some of the negative and some of the noise and that's not combined with a visit to come ask questions and get information. I know some people don't want information. They really enjoy complaining. We don't have many people like that here, but there's still a percentage. All right. And there's a percentage everywhere you go that are negative by nature. And that's fine, but we got to spread the positive. We got to encourage people. Hey, if you got questions, you're upset about something, go see Chris.
Yeah.
Call him, pick up the phone, send him an email. I mean, you guys know I'll talk, I'll share the information. I am honest to a fault. I don't have any skin in the game other than I want to take care of you guys. So there's nothing to hide. There's nothing to cover up. It's just, I'll give you the information as it is. If you like it, okay. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. We're working to change it. All right. But, so send people to come see me. Yes, ma'am.
Back to the voting.
Mhm.
When it gets down to the close to the
Nitty gritty.
will you have access to those who have not voted?
Yes, and we'll be, hopefully we'll be able to target those individuals hard. So I checked on that earlier because basically what it does, it pulls up all the properties and there's 9 pages of it, and click through it and there's a green check by the people who voted. So they're all the ones that don't have a check mark means they haven't voted yet. I got to double check that, and I think I just got to double check because there's like 2 people like back to back, like Forrest, you might be here and Joni might be here, same property. So I don't want to harass somebody that voted for the same property, but yes, I can check that. We can get together. So that's kind of we're going to have a few people that I know have already volunteered. Hey, give me phone numbers. We'll call on behalf, which is great. So we're going to start that already, but we should be able to do a concentrated effort down if we think, we got to make a hard push here in the last couple of weeks. And we'll get anybody who's willing to volunteer to do it. We'll get together and we'll start making some phone
Do
calls.
you want to harass anybody before the forum?
I think I would prefer not to harass them before that, because I like the fact that if they're waiting to vote until after they do the candidate forum, which is, unless you really know all the candidates, that's a wise thing to do. So I prefer to wait till after that. And we still got, like I said, that's the 23rd. The voting closes on the 17th. So we got a good chunk of time there. 24 days, right? Ish. So we should be able to get it done. We're going to get this done. All right. Provided we have too many people that vote no before they read it. So each one of those is painful. I don't know who they are, but it's painful to see. Like a lot of hard work went into this. If we just knew who they were. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Any other questions, comments, thoughts, rude remarks?
Thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah. I appreciate, honestly, thanks for coming, guys. And you guys are a fantastic group. This is kind of the people I expected to see, but it's even bigger than I expected. So hopefully as these go, we continue to get some pretty good crowds. Hopefully I'll have a bunch of people online tonight. We'll see how it goes, but I appreciate you guys a lot.
This meeting that we had all last year.
Yes, combined.
I think so.
Combined.
Remember that.
Combined. I think I did 5 of them last year, and I bet we probably ended up with maybe 30 total. And some of our people showed up more than once. So right now 2, 4, 6. But I think there was 8 for a little bit. Yeah. Thank you to all you people here on Zoom. I appreciate you guys as well. spread the word to come out and to jump on at 7 o'clock tonight.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. I got some questions here. I'm gonna post a link to the recording as soon as I can get it. Probably, hopefully by tomorrow morning, I should be able to get that done. At least that's gonna be the goal. Thanks for being on, everybody.
Meeting.